Hi to all, welcome to Land to Sky Infos. This is Mallikarjun. In the last class, we discussed about different types of vectors like vectors or parallel vectors, anti-parallel vectors or unlike vectors, collinear vectors, coplanar vectors, co-initial vectors, co-terminal vectors, position vectors, zero vectors. But we skipped that vector, that is a unit vector, in the last video because it has its own importance to discuss separately. So I am making a small video about this unit vector. Name itself telling that it is a vector and its magnitude is equals to 1. So the vector whose magnitude or whose value is the vector which has magnitude equals to 1. The vector whose magnitude is always equals to 1. Such a type of vector is called as a unit vector. So unit vector also has a symbol. Normally every vector or any vector can be represented with the symbol arrow mark. In the same way, our unit vectors also has their own symbol to represent. We use this symbol when we call this symbol as a cap or hat. We call it as cap or a hat. So symbol of unit vector is cap or a hat. Example, before going to discuss about example, first we need to know what is the importance of this unit vector. In the whole vector concept, this vector, unit vector, is meant for giving direction. If you are discussing about different vectors like vector A, vector B, vector C in different directions, to explain the direction of that vectors, you can use these unit vectors. So the main purpose of using these unit vectors is giving direction. Remember, unit vector is simply the vector which gives a particular direction to the vectors. So we will discuss in detail about this direction concept of unit vectors. But let us take one example here. Say this is a vector A. Say this is vector A. Now if I want to explain this vector A in the form of unit vectors, I will divide this vector A like this, or I will draw a unit vector. See here, still I am using an arrow. Arrow indicates a vector. Arrow indicates one vector and it has magnitude always equals to 1. So in which vector we are representing this magnitude 1? Vector A. So with the help of same vector symbol A, you can write the symbol of unit vector as A cap. So A is the vector, A cap is the unit vector along the vector A. So where to represent these unit vectors? In the main vector, along the direction of main vector, we can represent the unit vectors. So A cap is the unit vector along the vector A. So if you see, this unit vector is just giving the direction of the main vector A. So the purpose of using this vector, unit vector, is giving the direction of main vectors. In which direction we are explaining them. Next, come here. How to write the unit vector formula? Very important. Formula of unit vector. Formula of a unit vector. So what is the symbol of unit vector? Cap. So wherever you find the cap in the books, you can say it is a unit vector. Now see how we are going to derive the formula of a unit vector. You know well, a vector is a physical quantity which has both value, which means magnitude, and also direction. So the vector which has both value and direction, or magnitude and direction, we call that physical quantities as a vectors. Example, say this is a vector force vector. Force is also a vector. So I am taking a force vector here, representing with a slash, equals to. If you call this force as a vector, if you call force as a vector, this force must have magnitude and also direction. Clear? So, how to represent the magnitude of a vector? With the help of a modulus. In the modulus, if you write the given vector f, that gives you the value of that vector or magnitude of that vector. So, for vector f, we have taken the magnitude. If you are calling as a vector, this force vector should maintain certain direction. So, where to get the direction? With what we will represent this direction of this force vector? Unit vector. Unit vector purpose is giving the direction for the vectors. So, if you call this force as a vector, it should have a magnitude. Modulus of f indicates the magnitude of this vector, and the direction of this force vector will be indicated with a unit vector. It will be indicated with a unit vector. Say f cap, cap is the symbol used to represent the unit vectors. So, f cap is the unit vector along the force vector. So, which is giving the direction to the force vector? Our unit vector. So, unit vector or force unit vector gives you the direction. Now, you can see when you call force as a vector, it has its magnitude in the modulus and it has its direction with the help of unit vector. So, unit vector purpose is just to give the direction of the main vectors. Now, change this equation for unit vector, which means change the equation for f cap. F cap వచ్చేలాగా రాసుకోండి. So, f cap unit vector of force is equals to force vector by modulus of force vector, magnitude of force vector. So, this is the symbol and this is the formula for unit vector. So, unit vector is the ratio between vector, given vector by modulus of given vector or magnitude of a given vector. You can write in this way also. If this is a vector b, take this unit vector in the vector b as b cap. So, this b cap just gives the direction to the vector b. If you call b as a vector, that b vector should have value which is indicating with the modulus, and also it should have a direction. So, which is giving the direction? Our unit vector, that is b cap. So, if you want to write the unit vector formula here for our main vector, so it can be written as vector b by magnitude of vector b. So, in this way you can write the formula of a unit vector. Clear? Now we will represent the unit vectors in the Cartesian form. In the Cartesian form we will discuss the unit vectors. X, Y, Z axis system is the Cartesian coordinate system normally, but here we will take only a plane, which means XY axis system or any two axis system, not only XY, any two axis system we will take, or you can directly take a three axis system also, like say this is X axis, say this is Y axis, and perpendicular to both we will take Z axis. So, here we have a Cartesian coordinate system with X, Y, Z axis. Now, if you want to represent any vector along the x direction, if you want to express any unit vector, you can use the symbol I cap. So, normally we will use the symbol of unit vector along the x axis as a I cap. So, what is I cap here? I cap is unit vector along x axis, or along the x direction, you can say. So, I cap is the symbol of unit vector along the x axis. In the same way, if you want to represent any vector along the y axis, you can represent it with a j cap. In the z axis, the unit vector symbol we will take it as a k cap. So I cap, j cap, k cap are unit vectors along x direction, y direction, z direction, or along x axis, y axis and z axis. For example, consider a body is there on the floor. I am applying force on this box, say F is equals to 5 newtons. How much amount of force we are applying on this box? Which is equals to 5 newtons along the x direction. Now you know the force which we are applying on the box is a vector. This is a vector. If it is a vector, if force is a vector, it should have a magnitude and also direction. Now see, vector should have a magnitude and also it has a direction. So what is our vector here? Force is a vector. If it is a vector, it should have a magnitude. We already have the magnitude of the force which we are applying on the box, that is equals to 5. So magnitude means the value. Now if you see this case, now we cannot call this force as a vector now. Why? Because this force has only magnitude. Still now we did not take any direction for it. Whenever this force will get a direction, then only we can call this as a vector, force vector. Now this force is just having a value. So it is not a vector now. It has a scalar. Now force can be called as a scalar because it has only value but no direction. But you know, force is a vector. If it is a vector, it should have both value and a direction. So what is the force we are applying on the box? That is equals to 5 newtons. So we got a value, we got a magnitude, and the direction of this force vector will be given by a unit vector. So in which direction that box is moving? In the x direction, along the x axis. So in the x axis, which gives the direction? Unit vector. Unit vector purpose is giving the direction. మనకు కావాల్సిన ఫోర్స్ వెక్టార్ కి డైరెక్షన్ ఎవరు ఇస్తున్నారు ఇక్కడ? హూ ఇస్ గివింగ్ ద డైరెక్షన్ ఫర్ అవర్ ఫోర్స్ వెక్టార్? ద యూనిట్ వెక్టార్ విచ్ ఈస్ ప్రెసెంట్ along the x axis. So what is the unit vector here? I cap. So magnitude is 5 and the direction of this force vector, the direction of force vector is given by the unit vector along the x axis. Now you can call this force as a vector because it has a value and the direction is given by the unit vector along which axis we are applying force, that is x axis. So total force vector now is equals to magnitude of that vector and direction of that vector along x axis, which is represented with I cap. Now if I am applying, or if any object is running, for example say this is me, now I am running along the z axis with 10 meters per second velocity. So I am running in the z axis or along the z direction. In this way I am running with what velocity? 10 meters per second. You know, velocity is also a vector. Now if you call velocity as a vector, it should have a magnitude, which means value, and also it should maintain some direction. Then only you can call the velocity with what you are running is a vector. Now see, I am confirming that velocity is a vector because with what velocity I am running, which means the value of my velocity I know, that is 10 meters per second. And what is the direction of this velocity vector? Who gives the direction of velocity vector or velocity of me in z axis? That is k cap. So what is k cap here? K cap is the unit vector which gives the direction of this velocity vector in z axis. So 10 is the magnitude or a value of my velocity, 10 meters per second, and k cap is giving the direction of my velocity vector along the z axis. So k cap. So totally velocity vector can be represented with 10 k cap. So then only we can call this velocity as a vector. So I cap, j cap, k cap are the unit vectors which are representing along the x axis, y axis and z axis. So if you want to discuss any topic like force or velocity in different axis system or directions, you can use this unit vectors for their directions. Clear? So this is the importance of a unit vector. A unit vector is just used to represent the direction of the main vectors. Clear? Thank you.